Test 1. You will hear a number of different recordings and you'll have to answer questions on what you hear. There will be time for you to read the instructions and questions and you will have a chance to check your work. All recordings will be played once only. The test is in 4 sections. At the end of the test, you will be given 10 minutes to transfer your answers to an answer sheet. Now, turn to Section 1. Section 1. You will now hear a conversation between a real estate agent and a customer. First, you have some time to look at questions 1 to 4. Now we shall begin. You should answer the questions as you listen, because you will not hear the recording a second time. Now listen carefully and answer questions 1 to 4.
Good morning. How can I help you?
Hello. I'm interested in renting an apartment in the city, so I'm just ringing to see if you have any apartments available.
All right. Could I have your name, please?
Yes, it's Frederick Aberline.
Could you spell your last name, please?
Sure. It's Abberline.
Abberline. Thank you. And what do you do for a living?
Well, currently I'm working as a clockmaker in a factory, and I've been doing that for a few years now.
I see. Could you tell me where you live, Mr. Aberline?
Please, call me Fred. And I'm living in Salisbury Street. It's located in Blandford Forum, Dorset.
Could you spell the name of the street, Fred?
Sure, it's Salisbury.
Thank you. Do you have any contact phone number?
Yeah, sure. Let me give you my office phone number. It's 02 45 33 8648. Oh, wait. Actually, I think it'll be better if I give you my personal phone number. It's 02 45. Oh, sorry. Actually, it's 02 48 35 0348.
All right, let me note that down. 0248. Got it.
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you have some time to look at questions 5 to 10. Now listen and answer questions 5 to 10.
Okay. Right now there are 3 apartments that are available for you. Do you want to know more about these apartments?
Yes, sure. Just give me a second to find a pen and a piece of paper. All right, keep going.
The first one is on Cleveland Street. The previous tenant just left about 2 weeks ago, so there isn't anyone living there at the moment. This one's got a big living room and of course a separate kitchen.
So what about the rent?
The good news is that it's only $250 a month, and in this area there is a lot of access to public transport.
Is there an air conditioner in this apartment?
I'm afraid not, unfortunately. This apartment is only equipped with ceiling fans in the living room.
Well, that's too bad. I really can't stand the heat in summer, you know. So, could you tell me about the other locations, please?
The second one is situated in Gilbert Road. It's more expensive than the previous one at $450 per month. It has a living room, a kitchen and a closet as well. There are a lot of modern facilities close to this area, such as shopping malls and healthcare centres.
Okay, that sounds pretty good, but I'm afraid it's too far away from my workplace. It'd probably take me about an hour to get to work if I live in that area, and I think the monthly rent is too expensive for me anyway. How about the other location?
This one is located in Fleet Street, and the good news is that it only costs you $319 per month. It has a living room, of course, with a kitchen and a dining room. Oh, I forgot to mention, there's also a large bathroom in this apartment, which could be convenient for you.
Yeah, that would be better than having no air conditioning. And this location is really close to my workplace, which means I could probably get there on foot in just a few minutes.
Yes. However, because this area is really close to main streets, it's quite noisy, especially at night, not to mention a lot of karaoke clubs around.
I see. Well, at least I can afford this apartment every month. Could we arrange a meeting next week so that you can take me to see the apartment, please?
Yes, of course.
That's the end of section 1. You now have half a minute to check your answers. Now turn to Section 2. Section 2. You will hear a talk given by a tour guide about an art museum. First, you have some time to look at questions 11 to 15. Now listen and answer questions 11 to 15. Good morning and welcome to the city's art museum, where you can enjoy a range of exhibits of European art from the ancient times through to the 20th century. My name is Thomas Gabriel, and I'm going to tell you about the various collections here as we go on our tour. But before we start, let me tell you some basic information about the museum. First of all, in order to satisfy the needs of our visitors, we've decided to extend the opening hours of the museum. We now open from 8:30 a.m. till 9 p.m. every day of the week, except on Monday when we close at 3 p.m. The museum is also open 363 days a year. The only days when we're closed are the 25th of December and the 1st of January. Now, considering the history of this area and the museum itself, this place has been called the Food Town since the early 1920s because there are several restaurants which serve a wide range of dishes from different places around the world. Many of the restaurants have stood here for nearly a century. The museum was built over 50 years ago after the demolition of a warehouse due to its owners going bankrupt. At first, the museum was quite small, but thanks to financial support from the local people as well as the City Council, we've managed to expand it into the large building that you're seeing right now. In 1990, the managers of the museum had to make a difficult decision to shut down the museum's operation due to a very bad storm which caused serious damage to our facilities. Despite the efforts of the staff working here and the money from the local people, it still took us a year to rebuild the place. With regards to the collections in our museum, we have a variety of paintings and sculptures, especially those from the medieval period. Most of the pictures here are original works of ancient and modern art. Some are over 700 years old. Since we realized that many visitors would like to find out more information about art from ancient times, 3 years ago we decided to open a lecture hall where people can come and listen to lectures about how artists in ancient times created their works. In addition, we have recently opened a new restaurant inside the museum where you can come and enjoy excellent food whilst admiring some of the masterpieces displayed around the room. And of course, all the paintings in the restaurant are originals. Now, if you really want to learn more about art, every Saturday we organise a one-day class in the lecture hall to teach you how to create a painting using the same techniques as our ancestors from a few hundred years ago. On the next day, there will be an expert giving a talk about how paintings were created at that time. Before you hear the rest of the talk, you have some time to look at questions 16 to 20. Now, listen and answer questions 16 to 20. Now, here's some more practical information. There are 3 floors at this museum, and we're going to start our tour on the ground floor. When you walk through the main entrance, the first thing that you will see is the ticket counter. Here, you can buy tickets for your visit. At the end of the tour, you can also return to this counter to buy some souvenirs for your friends and family. Now, very close to this ticket counter is a statue. This is a replica of a beautiful sculpture from the 15th century. Unfortunately, the original work was destroyed during World War II. Behind this statue is the staircase leading to the first floor of the museum, and to the right of it you can find the lecture hall where we organise the many interesting lectures that I've already told you about. Next, if you turn left after crossing the ticket counter, the first exhibition room is immediately to your left. It is the biggest room on this floor. In front of this room, you'll find 2 other rooms next to each other. The one on your right is the gallery, where we exhibit collections of pictures with different topics every week. After that, if you want to have a fancy lunch or dinner at a place full of wonderful artwork, you can visit our restaurant. It's next to the exhibition room on the left. You can also enter the restaurant by using a separate entrance. Now, I can see that many of you here are teachers, and some have told me that they would like to book a tour to the museum for their students. In this case, you can contact our manager in his office. You can easily find it on your right-hand side right after you cross the entrance. And finally, some of the people here might be interested in photography. Fortunately, we also have a room to exhibit a huge collection of photographs from about 100 years ago up until now. Many of these photographs depict the horror of war. In order to get to the photography room, when you leave the exhibition area, go to the opposite room on the left, near the toilet in the corner of the floor. Now, if you've got anything to leave in the cloakroom, please do that now, and then we're going to start our tour. That's the end of section 2. You now have half a minute to check your answers. Now turn to section 3. Section 3. You will now hear 3 students discussing how they will conduct a survey for their upcoming presentation. First, you have some time to look at questions 21 to 23. Now listen and answer questions 21 to 23.
Hey Gaunter, come and take a seat. Iris and I also just arrived.
Hi guys. Phew, this is my third meeting today. This week is so stressful and it's not even the final week yet.
Sorry to hear that, but think about it this way. The earlier we start working on it, the quicker we finish it. And this is just a presentation, which means we don't have to write an essay. That's a big plus, right?
I agree. So let's get started. The topic of our presentation, as we discussed last week, would be Vietnam's higher education system, an overview of public and private universities. But Iris just pointed out a brilliant idea. We should also include foreign universities like RMIT or BUV into our research.
Why? Don't you think adding more variables is going to make our report less focused? Are you worried that we won't have enough materials to cover a 10-minute presentation?
No, Gaunter. We just want to have more students to interview to increase the accuracy of the report, since I'm afraid we don't have enough participants. And also, 3 of my cousins are attending RMIT, the first foreign-owned college here, so it would be really easy to ask for their participation in our survey.
Yeah, and speaking of survey, we haven't decided on what type of survey we will conduct yet. How about a face-to-face interview?
Doesn't that mean we will have to meet hundreds of survey applicants in person and ask the same questions over again and again? I don't think we have enough time or energy to do that.
Iris has a point. I thought about this too, and at first I thought telephone interview might work, but it just sounds like telemarketing, and most undergraduates hate telesales. What about an online questionnaire?
Good idea. That way we can get access to more students without spending a lot of time and effort. People tend to be more friendly towards online surveys too. Finally, what type of questions will we include in our survey, guys? Remember, the point is to find out how and why high school leavers choose their next destination for study.
As long as it's not short answers. I hate those types of questions. They are too vague and ambiguous. Why did you choose your school? Because my parents made me?
Yeah, I think we should come up with choices for them to choose from. People love being given a selection to choose from, since we love to have control. That's the psychology of choice. I just learned it from my psychology class.
You're such a nerd, Gaunter. And we should make them rank their selection for more depth and accuracy?
Nah, that'd be too complicated. Students may just decide randomly. Before you hear the rest of the talk, you have some time to look at questions 24 to 30. Now listen and answer questions 24 to 30.
Alright, so let's start noting down the reasons behind high school students' decisions for their next destination, shall we?
The first reason I can think of is the popularity of the institution. Every student wants to attend a well-known school. That's why I chose this school. Getting accepted into a reputable college also gains students bragging rights with their peers.
I think, although foreign higher education institutes are getting more and more recognition, public universities are still more popular and highly regarded amongst students, such as the Foreign Trade University.
A popular school doesn't always equal quality, does it? If I were to choose, I'd pick a school with the best professors.
That's another important reason. My friends at Hong Bang, one of the biggest private universities in Vietnam, always talked about how knowledgeable their lecturers are.
Right, but I think this is one of the strengths of foreign-owned institutions. I mean, most teachers must have formal qualifications from prestigious universities, and besides knowledge, professors at foreign colleges who are native speakers might also help students to improve their English skills as well.
Excellent point as always, Iris. How about the tuition fees?
Oh yeah, I almost forgot. The winner is undoubtedly private colleges. Thanks to the government's support, the average annual fee for an academic year at a private institute tends to be really budget-friendly, no matter the student's financial situation. Meanwhile, RMIT undergrads often need to pay a lot of money to afford these high-quality services.
Actually, I found out from my research that private universities offer many types of scholarships for low-income students or high school students with a high GPA, thus making them one of the best options for college applicants who are concerned about the tuition.
I agree with Olgerd, and I think campus infrastructure should also be taken into consideration when thinking about where you will spend your next 4 years to study. Right, guys?
Well, it's a matter of debate between foreign and private schools then. Public university facilities are just terrible. I mean, look at our school's toilet.
It's public, duh.
The article I read stated that privately owned universities are usually larger in size compared to their foreign-owned counterparts. Yet, foreign universities are equipped with more modern buildings and equipment to meet a high standard, so they have a slight edge there.
I just added one more factor, the learning environment for students. Which type of school do you think offers a better environment for its students?
Foreign institutions again, for sure. They provide an English-speaking environment for students.
True, but I just came across an online article that said private schools rank first in terms of creating an engaging learning environment thanks to small class sizes and a large number of clubs and extracurricular activities.
Interesting. Oh, I just realised career opportunities, guys. Some students are really concerned about it.
How did I miss that? Well, it has to be public universities. Since most recruiters still believe in reputation, fresh graduates from these schools are more welcomed than others, while a bachelor's degree from a private university will probably get you a job from companies that invest in those schools.
We have quite a few, huh? Let's include one more. Entry barrier. Which type of organisation is most difficult to get an acceptance letter?
Most public schools require applicants to pass a university entrance examination. For foreign schools, you need to achieve a certain score in an English proficiency test, while students just need a high school certificate to enrol in a public school.
My cousin said even if you don't get the required English score, they will accept you anyway and just add some compulsory English courses. So I guess it is the easiest type of college to get into.
Alright, let's call it a day and start making the survey in our next meeting. Good work, guys.
That's the end of section 3. You now have half a minute to check your answers. Now turn to section 4. Section 4. You will now hear a lecture about a cancer treatment. First, you have some time to look at questions 31 to 40. Now listen and answer questions 31 to 40. Good morning, I'm Dr. Marvin Forrest, and today I'll be talking with you about immunotherapy, a treatment approach that harnesses the power of our own immune systems to fight against cancer. Recently, there has been some excitement growing about new drugs that have the power to help unleash the immune system to destroy cancer cells. In fact, just this past year, the US Food and Drug Administration has approved new immunotherapies for the treatment of melanoma, lung cancer, bladder cancer, and kidney cancer. Now, although cancer immunotherapy has only recently attracted widespread attention, its origins go back more than a century. In the 1890s, William Coley, a surgeon from the New York Cancer Hospital, discovered that cancer patients who suffered from infections after surgery sometimes saw their cancers regress. His findings led to the development of Coley's toxins, a cocktail of inactive bacteria injected into tumors that occasionally resulted in complete remission. But eventually the use of this treatment fell out of favor. In the 1960s and 1970s, researcher Lloyd Old from the MSK Cancer Center discovered molecular markers called antigens on the surface of cancer cells, which enabled the development of the first cancer vaccines and led to the understanding of how certain white blood cells, also known as immune cells, can be trained to recognize cancer. Now, in recent years, a number of scientific breakthroughs have helped breathe life into the idea that a person's immune system is inherently capable of responding to cancer and can be summoned to effectively defend the body against it. In fact, clinical trials conducted at the MSK Center and elsewhere have shown remarkable success for new cancer immunotherapies. One of the pivotal milestones in immunotherapy research was from the work of immunologist James Allison, who showed that a molecule called CTLA4, a protein receptor on the surface of T cells, acts as a brake on T cells, preventing them from carrying out immune attacks. He later developed an antibody that blocks CTLA4 and showed that releasing the brake allows T cells to destroy cancer in mice. Anti-CTLA4 eventually became ipilimumab, a drug approved in 2011 for the treatment of metastatic melanoma, the deadliest form of skin cancer. Dr. Allison, together with physician-scientist Jed Wolchok, helped guide the development of the drug from the first laboratory studies through to the late-stage clinical trials that led to the drug's approval. Great promise is being shown by this method, which is now known as immune checkpoint blockade therapy. The MSK Cancer Center has played a leading role in developing and testing these promising immunotherapies, which, in addition to ipilimumab, include nivolumab. The therapies have produced remarkable results, completely controlling cancer in many patients with highly advanced melanoma, as well as in patients with lung, kidney, and bladder cancers. One study, led by Dr. Wolchok in 2013, found that more than half of patients with advanced skin melanoma experienced tumor shrinkage of more than 80% when given the combination of these two drugs, suggesting that these two immunotherapies may work better together than on their own. This combination of immune drugs was approved by the FDA in 2015 for use in patients with metastatic melanoma. This is the first ever combination immunotherapy to receive approval by the US Food and Drug Administration. But unfortunately, the approach does not work for everyone. Research is underway to help make the immunotherapy more widely effective, and it's yielding important insights about how immunotherapy drugs work and how they could be improved. For example, a number of new experimental researchers are now looking more closely at the effectiveness of combining immunotherapy drugs in order to boost the number of responders. In addition, investigators are working to better understand how treatment responses relate to the underlying biology of a tumor. Eventually, the goal is to use characteristics of the tumor to choose the right therapy for the right patient. As laboratory research and clinical trials continue at the MSK Cancer Centre and elsewhere, there will be new opportunities for patients to benefit from immunotherapy, a promising approach that is transforming the way we think about cancer care. That's the end of section 4. You now have half a minute to check your answers. That's the end of the listening test. In the Ielts test, you will now have 10 minutes to